something that I've learned as I've, chosen the different things. Anything that I've chosen, the support in the community has always made me realize how much as individuals we need that in life. Um, and I learned the hard way when I was in that dark moment that I really felt like I didn't have anyone I could talk to. And that's such a dark feeling, bad place to be when you feel like you just feel like nobody cares about you. But if you get yourself involved in, like you said, whatever you're drawn to, I've learned that the community of like the girls I met on my fitness journey, absolutely amazing. I've made some of the dearest friends that if I'm having a bad day or, whatever, just have a question or need help, I can reach out to those ladies and they are there for me and they've been through it too. So they know, and everyone I've learned has a story. No one's life is easy peasy. I used to just think, my life is just a disaster. I've screwed it up so bad. How do I even, repair this? But that's why you need a community of people and friends around you, because everyone has a story. Everyone's had a struggle in life. And when you can share that with somebody else, they can help you through your tough times. And I think that's where people get, stuck, not realizing that people do care about you and love you, but you have to make an effort to be a part of something, whatever that is.
Well, that's important because I know that when I was going through what I went through, I didn't talk with anybody about it,
Yeah.
and later on you find out that was the wrong thing to do. But back then it was different. I'm gonna say it was different. I'm just saying I wasn't mentally ready to talk with anybody about what I was going through and the struggles. But I think that's why, on Mental Health Warrior, I always talk about, finding different tools in your toolbox that you can go and go to when you draw upon. You talked about your Bible, you talk about your fitness training. I know we're going to talk about your horse and barrel racing and what you do with that. And so really, I think it's important that people realize that you got to have all kinds of different things, and you need to have a wide community also that you can associate with, because everybody's always got different problems. And even though, like I go to Nami Brown County, which is in Ohio. It's every 2 weeks. It's a 1 hour, virtual session where we all come in from all walks of life and talk. They don't know me. I met him when I went out there and spoke in July, but it's an online, like what we're doing right now, talking, and people come on and talk about all the different problems and they have. And Nami's been around for a long time, but it's nice because that's a different community than what I normally associate with. But you listen to what other people are going through, and sometimes just your advice may help them, even though you can't really relate, but maybe you're doing something that maybe will help them, and maybe they're doing something that'll help you. And so it's always good kind of broaden your horizon. And I had to learn that, and that wasn't, overly easy for me, and I think it's just important. But Amy,
Yeah.
you did your fitness competition. I know you've always had a love of riding horses and being on horses. And I hope that, you'll share some of the photos of what you do, and Kevin will make sure it'll get on the podcast. He'll make sure those are shown. So send those to him. But let's talk about your barrel racing, because you've been doing that longer than you've been doing the fitness competition.
For sure.
I know that.
Yeah.
I want to know what that is. Like, I don't even know what that is.
Oh, she's gonna tell you all about it, Lynn.
So I grew up in California, and then I've lived in the South, but I've never heard of like horse barrel racing. I've been to rodeos. Do they have that at the rodeos? Like
They do. And so and my husband's the same way. Until he actually came to one of my events, he had no idea what it was. And it's just a timed event with the horses. So it's 3 barrels set up, in a triangle, and you cross over a timer. You can go the left or right barrel first. And so you cross over the timer, you go around that barrel, you go across the pin to the other barrel, and then you go to the top of the triangle, go around the last barrel, and then run home. And it's for the fastest time. So it's like jumping out of an airplane every time I do it. You're on the back of a 1,200-pound animal that you have to trust. And that's what I like. It's not a judged event, it's timed. So, you know, if you don't get a good time, that's you and your horse's fault. You can't blame anything else.
Right.
And the horses is kind of another thing where I don't have any children. I won't even go into all that surrounds that, other than that was a real issue with me, not being able to get pregnant, not being able to have my own children, that I went on a trail ride with someone just to get them to leave me alone. Had never been around a horse. I was 34 years old. And the freedom I felt being able to get on the back of this animal and ride. I literally went out and bought a horse a month later. Didn't know how to feed it, didn't know anything about how to take care of it, but I was like, I want one, I'll figure it out. And I've always loved animals. So here I am, 4 horses later, a barn. I've been barrel racing for I think 12 years now. And that's, I mean, I spend my mornings riding, and then in the evenings when I can go to a show, that's what I go do. Those have literally become the babies God put into my life. I didn't know they'd be 1,200-pound horses. But, you know, my dad would always say, if you want to make God laugh, tell him what your plans are.
There you go.
So this is where I'm at. But I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. It just took a lot to get here.
Sometimes, you know, the road to where you are isn't the best road, but sometimes it can be the greatest experience in your life once you can go back and look at certain aspects of it. Because, you know, I wouldn't be where I am if things wouldn't happen in my life that happened. Right. And I think it made my life better in run. And if I go back and change, everybody's like, well, if you could go back and change this or change that, I'm thinking, I don't know if I would, because if I did, I may not be where I am here now. I may be completely different, you know. And so the journey is just as much as the trip as anything. So I'm kind of curious. So because I'm big into animals. We had animals growing up. So how do you train your horse? So you say you go out and you ride your horse, but obviously you have to practice riding barrels. Is there a certain type of horse you look at that is better than other horses, you know, breeds and going around the barrels? Do you have a different type of shoe that you put on the horse, a different saddle that you put on the horse, different reins? How does all that work? Because I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny how I've come into the horses that I have, because my 2 main barrel horses right now, my uncle raised quarter horse race horses.
Okay.
And so the one that is my main horse, he gave her to me when she came off the track as a 5-year-old.
Okay.
Okay, I had no idea what I was doing, but in my mind, I was like, okay, this horse can run. She's fast. She's bred really well. So I went and had a trainer train her on, you know, the barrel pattern for me, if you will, for 30 days. And like an idiot, I decided to start racing her, not realizing that, you know, most of these gals are spending 2 to 3 years bringing a horse along slowly to actually learn and develop the skills to actually run barrels. It's only by God's grace that this horse is such a sweet horse. When she realized I was falling behind and, you know, we were all over the pen, she just took care of me. So she's an amazing horse. And then, yeah, I have my husband, you know, he'll die because when I went and wanted a real nice barrel saddle, and he realized, he's like, oh, we'll just put it on my credit card. I'm like, okay, well, he didn't even ask how much it was. And then he gets the bill the next month and he's like, is that what that saddle cost? I was like, well, you didn't ask. He goes, well, I had no idea it was going to be that much money. But, you know, I always remind him, I was like, I don't have kids. Those are my babies.
That's right. That's right. So, so is it a special saddle that you use on it? Because I imagine with going around the barrel, there's G-forces obviously that's created.
Yeah. So
go around the
I
barrel.
mean, I trail ride in those same saddles just because they are expensive and I've gotten so comfortable in them. But mine are a very hard suede seat, which I feel like just kind of holds you in, and it's a very deep seat, just to kind of hold you in as you're racing them.
And it's probably good that I don't know, but I'm just assuming that since you're using the same saddle on the horse all the time, then the horse is used to that saddle and not different saddles. I'm assuming that could confuse a horse. I have no idea, but
No, Rosie's so funny. I tried a new saddle on her. I guess it was last year, just my other horse's saddle because I liked it better.
right.
She let me know she did not like it. That horse has never bucked with me ever in her life. And she's like, not happening.
It's kind of like a shoe almost. It's like you gotta break it in. The other saddle was already broken in.
Right,
Um,
right.
Yeah.
I have a question. So the shows that you do for your races, like does it have you traveling or do you just stay local?
So I mean, this is not obviously what I do for my living. It's more a hobby. So
Okay.
I do go down to Oklahoma City.
I used to live there. I just moved from there last year.
Oh, see, I would love to move there because they have a lot more bigger shows there than we
Yeah,
do
they
around
do.
here.
Yeah.
So I probably go there this year, probably only a couple times. In the past, I used to go about 4 to 6 times, but as we all know, gas is not our friend right now.
Not at
So I've been trying to stay more local. So right now I go like to Carthage, Missouri, Aurora, Missouri. I miss the big Oklahoma City shows, but like I said, it costs a little over $300 just to get my truck there and back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're pulling a trailer with a horse on
Trailer
it.
also. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's weighted
Yeah.
down. And
I
then
think
all
I
the things
get
that you have to bring with the
8
horse.
to, yeah, I get 8 to 10 miles per gallon while hauling.
Yeah.
For this shows, do you just do that one category with one horse, or do you bring other horses for different categories?
Yeah, so I just go to barrel racing jackpots, and you're only allowed to run each horse once. So I try to always have 2 that are going. It's funny, the first time my husband came to watch, because I'll go and I'll be gone all weekend. Of course we ride and I hang out with my girlfriends, but he watched me race, and then I come in the restaurant. This one had a restaurant inside, and he goes, "Well, when do you do that again?" I'm like, "No, that's it." He's like, "Oh my God, you spend all this time riding and that's it?" It's like, "Yeah, babe, that is it."
Get one shot and that's it, right?
Yep, one shot.
So have you won any competitions?
I sold about, how long has he been? I think it's been 5 years ago. I sold my very first barrel horse. He's the only one that I ever placed first on in a race. And then the horse now that I run, this sport, like everything else, has gotten so competitive. So I feel like unless that's kind of what you're doing for a living, I just kind of go to have fun now. She's very consistently in the second division, which is about a half second off the lead, is kind of where her and I are.
Oh, okay. Well, it's always good just to do things for fun just because you enjoy it, right? You don't, whether you
Oh,
win, you
absolutely.
just go for the enjoyment of going and doing it.
Yeah.
And so for anybody who doesn't know anything, because I used to go to the rodeo in Aurora, right? And I'm surprised they still have it. And they always had barrel racing, but sometimes they don't have barrel racing at rodeos. Is that true? Because
I haven't done a rodeo in a long time. I mean, I think they do the barrel racing
They
at
actually
almost all
do.
of them.
yeah.
At almost all the rodeos, they have the barrel racing. I just didn't know that that's what it was called. But once you explained it, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that several times. So I've been to like the Houston rodeo, Dallas rodeo, Oklahoma. So yeah,
You've been to all the fun ones, the really
the
big
fun ones,
ones.
the good ones.
Amy, if you don't mind, it's not often I unmuted myself, and it's not too often I jump in, but you said something at before the show even started that I found very interesting, and then it was pertaining to what you do on a yearly basis. And again, I'm like Cliff, I'll let you tell that what you're doing right now. But my question was, do you when it comes to picking the word, which again, I'll let you explain, do you pick it, or is it random, or is there, how do you come about picking that word you picked this year? So if you'd like to explain what you do and why you picked the word you picked this year, as far as your
So I just I'm very much now about trying my best just to live in the actual present moment. Obviously, living in the past, I don't think helps us out a lot, other than the things that we learned. And to worry about the future, I don't think is helpful either. So I just try very much to be present. So when it comes to, you know, the end of the year coming around, I just pay attention to what's being shown to me, because it almost seems like the word that I end up picking is something that's being repetitively shown to me. And so this year I picked the word freedom. And I always kind of laugh because sometimes I think, oh, well, that'll be easy. Freedom, you know, be free. Yay. Well, when you think about actually being free, I think of all that takes to actually live in true freedom. And so I know that this last year I've been pushed and pushed and pushed, in a good way, and I had no idea all the steps, you know, leading even up to this point. But I do feel more free than I've ever been. But I always look back and say, wow, God just had an amazing journey for me this year. And that word has shown up, you know, so much in my life. Because at the beginning of the year, I had no idea I was going to compete in a fitness journey. And I will say that that has brought me the most freedom mentally in believing in myself, and just trusting everyday life to take me where God wants me to go moving forward.
I love that word, freedom.
Mhm.
I think it'd be fun if we go around and say what freedom means to all of us, like having your own freedom. So for you, what does that mean to you, freedom?
Really, for me, I just feel like it means being able to let go of an expectation for your life and living life on a daily basis in a free space to let what needs to come in and out of your life happen naturally. You know, just kind of going with the flow and being present in the moment.
Right. I agree. I feel like freedom is having the autonomy to do what you want without anybody holding you back or anybody telling you no, you know, and being able to just be yourself and be out there, put yourself out there, and then it also makes you happy. Right.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way. How about you, Cliff?
I think, you know, freedom for me is obviously everything that you guys said, but for me, it's for me to opening my mind and being free to try new things, right? And so I'm very not a person that will jump in to try new things. And I was very anti-yoga for years, right? And then I had Monica come on the show, right? Because it's all the, not there's anything bad about it, but you know, the all huggy, lovey, whatever, the crystals, the stones, all that stuff. I didn't believe any of that stuff, right? And so I'm not gonna go do yoga. It sounds stupid.
That's
Oh my
totally
God.
different.
I
It's
am
called
now addicted to
holistic.
yoga. I will do yoga 5 days a week if I could fit it in my
Yoga
schedule.
is awesome.
I
Meditation
know.
Yeah.
and like being with yourself and being mindful of like your body and what your thoughts are, you know, and it helps you a lot. I love yoga. Since I can't run no more, I do yoga all the time. You guys know that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I went to yoga on Monday and it was a new class. It was spa yoga. So, but like you said, what I realized is I have a hard time relaxing. And I think Monica told me this too, is she had a hard time. And you don't realize that until you're in yoga and they're telling you to, you know, breathe and pay attention to the part of your body that maybe is giving you pain, to let it release and all this other stuff. And I talk about this on the show, and I've been talking about it, that, you know, for men, they're like, I'm not gonna do yoga or whatever. I would tell you what, with the injuries that I've had in my back, I'm at the tail end of when my Botox wears off, right? And a lot of times I'm in pain and miserable. I haven't been since I started doing yoga. And I think it's just the fact that now, even though I worked out, but just stretching these muscles and learning to relax and learning to pay attention to other things that I never did before, I'm just amazed by it.
Well,
and it's
even
hard to
in
explain to
physical-
somebody.
When you go to physical
Yeah.
therapy, like I went to physical therapy for my back and like for my legs, and they tell you to do these certain exercises, and they're pretty much yoga poses.
Yeah.
They tell you do these stretches, and I'm like, oh, I do that in yoga. And they're like, okay, keep going to yoga, and it'll help you feel better.
Yeah.
Right.
So now I was doing yoga once a week. Now I'm trying to do it twice a week. I'm not gonna be able to do it Friday because
Awesome.
Lloyd has a dental appointment, but the following week I'll do it on Mondays and Fridays.
You'll
And it was
get
funny. I
hooked.
was posting about it on Facebook, and I don't know who this person is, but she's like, yeah, I live so and so. I should go try yoga. And so I sent her to the place where I was going to yoga. I'm like, yeah, go try it. It's great. I mean, and I would say any man out there who thinks yoga is a joke, because the spa yoga I did the other day, I was sweating as much as I was when I run 4 miles, and I was surprised by that. And I got a little. I posted on Facebook. I got the little yoga award for burning the most calories for yoga for the first time. So I was kind of proud of that. So I had the freedom of saying, yes, Cliff Bauman does do yoga now, and he's not embarrassed by it.
All right. He loves that.
And you can thank your sister for that, Amy.
Yeah, and she's a great instructor. I mean, I try to
Monica
go
can
once a
thank
week.
you for that, because you're the one that got her to go do yoga, right? The first time.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
having all kinds of issues with my back, and a
Mhm.
physical therapist that I knew suggested going to hot yoga. And
Mhm.
like you, Cliff, I was like, I can't relax. But I made myself go, and I realized that that's something I think everyone needs. And at least going once a week, it allows you to slow your mind down. And then kind of like you, my back slowly started, that helped my back more than any kind of therapy I did for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's, and you know what's great about my yoga place? So, you know, guys, they watch how I went through the customization of my truck, right? Because I'm a big car guy, right? So I got the Mustang in the truck. The place that does all the customizing on my truck is right next door to the yoga studio. So why I'm doing yoga, I can hear the wrenches powering, the air compressor. I'm like, this is like the greatest place ever.
So freedom for Cliff is yoga and listening to.
I'm working on
The
cars
car
down
shop.
below. And they kind
I
of
love
turn the
that.
music up to kind of, because the car place is below and they're on top, and then beside, where the garage is to work on their, because they do customization of vehicles, of trucks. And I'm like, this is like the best place ever. So yeah, so I'm like found the best yoga place ever.
Yeah, and then of course that got Monica into yoga when I invited her, and now she's this amazing instructor that
Oh, she's
teaches yoga
amazing.
weekly. So
Yeah.
it's kind of funny that through my journey, she got introduced to what was part of her journey,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I need to, Kevin, we need to get those put together, and I'll have Monica back on when I did yoga for the first time, because I wanted to show those. I was kind of embarrassed at first. That's why I haven't done it yet. But I think we'll show the Junior took some short clips of me doing yoga. Well, you were there, Amy.
Yeah.
She did that special class for the veterans, and that was very nice of Sweat Yoga to do that. To have people come in and do yoga with me and kind of make it, focus on veterans and mental health issues. And that was very nice. And I was very appreciative that they did that. And I want to thank them again, although I've thanked them many times, but I want to thank them again for that, because that's something they didn't have to do. And that was very nice of them. But we'll go ahead and get this wrapped up. Amy, before we head out, I say, do you have any last words? And I'll pass it over to Lynn. But before we jump into that, Kevin, do you have anything else you want to say? Jump in.
Only that, of course, I'm as your audience, I'm answering your question without realizing I was going to have to give it, but
You gonna start yoga?
that's something that's very pertinent. I would have been right there with your answer about not having to do what you're told, I guess, is basically how I would have used to describe it. But
what's your definition of freedom?
I've just learned this year that true freedom comes from following your passion, because then it's just there. You don't even have to think about it. And even, because I'm not making money from my passion. I'm not making money from thinking I can go out for the rest of my life and start making documentaries. But in some ways, my life has just begun, because I've decided for the first time in my life to be free.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for that, because you make my podcast awesome.
Well, I know that, but come on, we don't.
And it's even more awesome today because I got Amy and Lynn on. So
there you go.
We were talking about that on chat, right? Kevin,
Say again? I'm sorry, Lynn.
We were talking about that on chat, Kevin, how you said you were more free to do what you wanted because you're doing your thing, you have all these interviews, and I was like, that's what it's about.
I guess for me, I've always felt like I was forced into this trade, even though I've been thankful, because I'm not working at McDonald's. Sorry, McDonald's. But I've always felt like that burden of giving my time to the man. When's it my turn? And I was, cognizant enough of that even in my 30s, to me, the answer was, oh, just wait till you're 67. Well, it used to be 65, but you know what I'm saying? Just wait. Then when you turn, and not when it comes to, I've always been, I love to travel. So I'm not going to wait until I'm 67
Right.
to travel, but you know, your life will become your own when you're 67. That's just living doom and gloom, man. You just think you're looking, you know, that's one of those light at the end of the tunnel might be the train if that's your plan.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you don't achieve your dream, you don't achieve your goals, you know what? You tried,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, anything else to me now, I'm sorry, me personally, not you, not judging you, for me to settle for anything less right now, I would just be sitting around for the next 35, hopefully 40 years waiting to die, regardless of what you do. Find your passion. That's the hardest part. That is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Once you find that passion, don't let anything except the law get in your way of following your
Don't break
passion.
the law.
If your
disclaimer.
passion's, you know, to
Right.
become an international drug dealer, man, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe rethink that and turn it into a legit business. I don't know.
So I shouldn't get into the import-export business then.
Yes, there you go. See, it's been your vision
I
has
just-
been of sugar as well. Why not just a sugar distributor? That would work.
I just got done finishing Pinky Blinders on Netflix. So yeah, so I'm all about it right now. If you haven't watched Pinky Blinders on Netflix, go and watch it and you'll find out what I just talked about. So, so Amy, I'd like for you to close out, and then Lynn, and then I'll end the session. So go ahead, Amy, you're up.
Well,
Spotlight's
and
on
I
you.
totally agree with that. You know, about, you know, follow your heart. And for me, you know, going and riding a horse, that wasn't even something. I knew I loved animals, but to go and ride a horse and realize a month later I was going to buy one, you know, don't be afraid to try something new, because you have no idea if you're really going to love something until you try it. Just like now you've done yoga, now you're going twice a week. I go to yoga once a week. I only did that because a therapist, you know, physical therapist told me to go.
Yeah.
And then the fitness thing, I've always loved fitness, but it wasn't until I really got into the training that a desire came up inside me. And so I just went with it. So I totally agree with that. I mean, for me to live in freedom means I have to follow where my heart leads me, and don't quiet that because it makes you uncomfortable, because I have had to do most of the things I love the most, scared half to death, but I'm not afraid anymore. And those passions now are, you know, what drive my life, and my freedom to be able to do those things that I now so dearly love.
Yes, ma'am. And I would like to add, what you just said was one of my newfound favorite quotes from the great actor Sidney Poitier when he passed away. You know, because I didn't realize how much I loved his movies until he passed away, and you know, I was reflecting on him, and I came across a quote he said that was more poignant when you understand what his beginnings were, especially in, you know, the Hollywood of the early 50s. You know, you can imagine what that was like for him. But he said, if your dreams don't terrify you, you're not dreaming big enough.
There you go.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Right on.
Lynn.
Okay. All right. So I got this last year. Right. So it's a PTSD tattoo. Not really PTSD, but I got your 6, right? So here's a semicolon teal. Teal is the color for PTSD. I got your 6, right? So the black part symbolizes our heavy heart for the people who did pass away from suicide. Okay. And so I like to point out how you said that, Amy, everyone has their own personal struggles. So not all wounds are visible, right? Be kind to people. Be kind to everyone you see, because you don't know what they're going through, and everyone has their own story. And also, not all who wander are lost. Just because you're going in certain directions and all these directions doesn't mean that you're lost. It means you're probably trying to find your way, or you're trying to find your freedom. And so I just want to leave off with that: kindness and freedom. Be kind and find your passion.
That's right. And succeed afraid. Don't be scared to be afraid.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, the kindness, that's something that we talked about in the last podcast, if you watch it with Vincent, because while he was filming my documentary. This guy was driving back and forth to California all the time and all over the United States because he was afraid to fly because he was flying on a plane. And if you didn't watch it, his father passed away while he was in the air. And so he was scared to fly. And this driving was killing him. Well, a friend of mine had given me a Chinese rosewood bracelet, which was for good luck. And I'd wore that for 2 years every single day. I hid it underneath my uniform. And so we were finishing up filming and I gave it to him. And he still wears that today. If you watch the documentary, he had it on his wrist. He had changed the, the string broke and stuff. But I talked about that, just caring enough for him. And he was a stranger till I met him. But I've never met a stranger. But to give him something that was dear to me, but I knew would help him in the end run, to get through what he was doing with his father's passed away is amazing. And sometimes just the most simple, smallest act can change somebody's world, right? And that's why I do what I do. That's why Lynn does what she does, and Amy, you do what you do, and Kevin does what he does. Is we are just trying to help and change, even if it's a small amount, right? If my podcast, and I will tell you, I was terrified of doing podcast about it, and if it wouldn't been for Kevin, my podcast would have began and ended with the first one, because I wasn't comfortable in doing it. But I think a lot of good has came out from doing it, and I've made a lot of friends, with Lynn and Kevin, and the journey's been great, and I hope it will continue. But with that, I want to say, hey, Mental Health Warriors, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. It was a great show. It is Suicide Awareness Month, so please check up on your friends and buddies and make sure they're doing all okay. And if you had that one friend or buddy who just suddenly went quiet, just, pick up the phone and see how they're doing. But I will say this, if you get that phone call, sometimes people just want you to listen and not try to fix their problems. And that's the hardest thing that I've had to learn, is sometimes to be a good listener. So sometimes I just want somebody to listen. So you guys have a great week. Thanks for tuning in and take care.